Hello and welcome to the Catholic Mama podcast. I'm your host, Christine Flynn. Thanks for joining me on this episode where I'm also joined by Jenn Lormand, who is one of the two founding members of Tighten Your Tinkler, which is I love that it says that it's a silly name and serious results. and she exercise physiologist, an author. You own a studio, right? A fitness studio?
I did. I closed it over COVID.
That happened to so many of my husband's colleagues and friends in the fitness industry. I'm sorry to hear that. But Jenn, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me, Christine. I'm excited.
Yeah. So Jenn, that was a very brief introduction. If you wouldn't mind telling the listeners a little bit more about yourself.
Oh, the fun part. I am a mom of three boys. My oldest is graduating high school this year. So I have an 18-year-old, a 16-year-old, and an 8-year-old. God decided you're not done yet. And I have been working as an exercise physiologist or in the fitness industry for 25 plus years. And really after the delivery of my first son and experiencing birth injuries and a separation of my abdominals and just difficulty, quote unquote, bouncing back into shape, I really started having a passion and a love of helping women heal postpartum. And that led me to a beautiful friendship and partnership with Christina Walsh, who is my business partner and a physical therapist who practices a specialized type of care called integrative manual therapy. And I found her by being one of her patients and trying to heal myself after my delivery with my third son, where I had a very large separation of my abdominal muscles and ended up having stage 2 pelvic organ prolapse of all 3 pelvic compartments. And it was on that journey that discovered this incredible tool that we use in our protocol. And it really, I'm a why girl. My superpower God gave me is truly curiosity. And so I started using this tool with myself and with clients, and everyone was quote unquote feeling better. It was like, man, I want to quantify that a little bit more. Like, let's try to figure this out. Met with one of my professors and decided to do a 2-year medical research study with the University of New Orleans to solidify proof that this protocol actually works to help women heal.
Very
and
cool.
So that is ultimately, never had any intention of having Tighten Your Tinkler as a business. It was really about validating this protocol. And then women continued to approach Christina and myself after we finished the study with, hey, my sister in Texas, is really struggling. Could y'all shoot some videos or something to help her? And we just continued to be approached by these women who had gone through the study and gotten these results. And we started thinking, okay, maybe we need to do something to help more women.
That's very cool. This all started because of this curiosity and then an actual scientific research project. That's very neat. So then clearly it works. But let's back up just a little bit now. I remember right before we started recording, you had a list of kind of symptoms that I think, probably are they more common, are they more common the more pregnancies you have or deliveries you've gone through?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah. So so this either whether you are you just have one child or many, these symptoms postpartum. Why don't you go through this a little bit so that listeners get an idea and maybe say, oh yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I mean, the things that we see get brushed aside pretty often are many women deal with what they call bladder issues, right? So whether that's leaking urine with coughing, sneezing, jumping, maybe you decided to give up running and jumping jacks because you were tired of soaking a pad, or urgency where all of a sudden, if you got to go, you better get to the restroom, otherwise you might have an accident. Or frequency, if you're peeing more than 10 times a day, and the first thing women say is, I drink a lot of water, Jenn. Doesn't matter how much water you drink. And I promise, if you're peeing more than 10 times a day, that's an issue. And usually, that frequency is due to dysfunction of the pelvic floor that's creating that. So those are the P issues. Then there's the backside of the bowl, the rectal issues, the bowel issues, the stuff that nobody wants to talk about. This isn't, I'm having tea with a friend and let me tell you about how I leak gas every time I bend over and I can't control it. Or, how accidentally sometimes I'll, some stool will fall out into my, panties when I'm picking up the case of water and putting it into the back of my car from Costco. Or that they have bowel leaks, poop leaks with urgency, just really mortifying, awful things that are embarrassing to talk about. And some women bring these things to their OBGYN or whatnot, and they're told, go see the gastro, and then they're ending up, this is normal, nothing's wrong with you. Other issues are prolapse, which is just a word for the falling of the pelvic organs, either into the vaginal compartment or literally falling out of your body. So that can be the rectum, the uterus, the urethra, the tube that you pee out of, and the bladder. I have all of those. So I have a stage 2, there's stage 0 to 4 of prolapse. I have stage 2 prolapse of my urethra, my bladder, my uterus, and my rectum. And so one of the things, well, I can go on and on. You asked about symptoms. So the other symptom would be back and hip pain. And that can be a variety of things because we are all individual and unique. This can be low back pain. This can be kind of off to the side, back or hip pain, front of the hip pain, tightness in the hips. Sciatic pain is another one. Another classic one with this is plantar fasciitis.
Interesting.
Some foot stuff that we can, because it goes up and down the biomechanical chain. I know we talked about your husband being in the fitness industry. And so all of these things, kind of get with the way the medical system is so specialized. If you have back and hip pain, you might go to an orthopedist and they're looking at you and they're x-raying you. Nothing's really wrong with you. I can give you this steroid shot to put a Band-Aid on it. Or you go to the urologist and, you fill out this bladder diary. And if you're peeing 20 times a day, like I was when I got diagnosed, well, here's this pill. This is going to help you not pee as much. Okay, great. Now I've got dry mouth and I've got like all these sores going on in my mouth and like all these side effects from this. And, what we want to educate women about more than anything is there is a way to deal with all of this in a way that you don't lose that sense of dignity and respect.
Right.
So,
like you said, these aren't things that you're usually coming up in polite conversation. And then again, it is compartmentalized. Dr. Charlie Weingroff was an old colleague of my husband's, and he always said, you don't have, a shoulder problem, you have a body problem, whatever it is. So you don't just have a foot problem or a back problem or whatever it is. There's other things that usually are happening along with it, and you have to treat the body holistically. So we have these symptoms, and I have a feeling that if for women who are listening, who have given birth, many of them are probably saying that I have some of those. Why don't you explain a little bit, like what are we supposed to do with this information now? Either they know it, or maybe they've sought help before without complete help or healing, or maybe they're just realizing that maybe they might have an issue.
Well, what I'd like to say is we have a couple of different freebies that we can offer your listeners to help discern if this is appropriate for them. We have a quiz, which I always say, if someone is concerned about, okay, will your program help me? That's a free quiz that they can go take on our website that basically helps connect the dots, because it is confusing. Christina and I like to say, your pelvic floor is not a magical unicorn. Yes, it is special, but it's really the same type of muscle mass that we have in our biceps and our shoulders. And so it needs to be worked in the same way, which is functionally. And that's really what we're teaching. And so, with all of these issues, it comes back to, when we're pregnant, your belly gets stretched out. So it's normal to have that separation of your abdominals. But with that comes the kicking off of the glutes towards the end stage of the pregnancy. And that's just kind of basic physics in order to accommodate for our belly. So we have a lot of dysfunction that ends up happening during pregnancy to accommodate for our changes to our center of gravity. And if you don't get any kind of proper rehabilitative care afterwards, that the muscles, the imbalances there don't go away. And sometimes with very good intentions, moms try to jump back into the exercises that they were doing pre-pregnancy, and without getting our foundational pelvic, what we're training here is the pelvic floor, the deep abdominals, the back extensors, and the hip rotators. These muscle groups are at the foundation connecting to the actual bones, and they should all work together without having to think about it. So that's why we don't promote Kegels.
Okay.
Nor do we promote bracing of the deep abdominals, because God did not design us to have to, every single time we walk around to go pick something up, okay, let me brace my abs, let me zip it up, and let me pick it up. That is kind of exhausting. We're already multitasking to the max, managing our households and our children. So, figuring out, giving women a way to be able to subconsciously get these muscles to turn on so that their bodies can function, rebalance the strength in their bodies so that they can get back to doing the things that they were doing previously.
That's very interesting. You're saying that, we can't just expect after we've gone through a pregnancy and labor and delivery that everything is just going to, given time, go back exactly to where it was. And dang the fall, making this original sin. Otherwise this would be a sin.
Yes.
Would you say then most women going through pregnancies and labor and delivery need to do some kind of rehabilitation in this manner?
I would definitely say it's appropriate for everyone. And look, I live with all guys. I have 4 men in my house, and they all do this program too. It's great for men as well because they have pelvic floors too. But yeah, it's a great program that isn't going to hurt you. Christina and I always talk about, the side effects to this program you could expect is a narrow waist, a perkier booty, a better life in the bedroom. These are the side effects that you should expect. So not any of the downsides of some of the other things, which include women's health physical therapy, which look, I myself did have to rely on after my first pregnancy. But it is mortifying. It is mortifying to have to be that vulnerable with someone in that state of, for me, I was incontinent both ways. I could not control when I had to go to the bathroom. I was going to the bathroom. And that was due to my first birth. They had to use forceps and a vacuum to get him out. And we were just blessed that he made it out without, alive. And so, but that caused a lot of damage to my pelvic floor. And so I always say there is a time and place for that type of therapy. I was grateful to get it. I needed some help to be able to get those muscles rebooted. Most women are not in that boat, are not in that extreme place post delivery. And most women can benefit tremendously from a 10-minute a day routine to get everything back on board.
So you don't need, you might not need heavy intervention, but women can all benefit from just something in this capacity.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So what, okay, you said the pelvic floor, Kegels are out. Now you mentioned about intimacy with your spouse being a problem. Is this just an issue of pain during sex? Is that what you're referring to?
So No, not just pain. Many women, for me, it was not pain upon insertion. It was a higher up pain in, I would say, like my abdominals. And really it was the pressure differential, because with prolapse, we have some great teaching videos on our YouTube channel. If anyone's thinking that they have prolapse, it really goes into detail and explains the different types and symptoms associated with it. But essentially, you've got this pressure differential where when these organs are falling down, there's a feeling of heaviness in either the lower abdominals, or every woman remembers end stages of pregnancy where you're feeling that downward pressure.
Oh, yeah,
like
sure.
You just kind of want to hold yourself down there. So with prolapse, when these symptoms get exacerbated, that's how it feels. So it's kind of like a plunger effect, if you will, when you insert something in there.
Oh,
if that makes
that does
sense.
not sound comfortable at all.
No.
No.
And it's embarrassing because there's sounds that are happening that you have no control over, and you're very anxious and nervous, and it just becomes really uncomfortable. But other symptoms that are associated with the pain with intimacy that we talk about are swelling post intimacy. Can also be a symptom of this. So, or pain post intimacy.
So that's probably one of those things where, I mean, this is happening a lot. You probably just don't hear about it very much because nobody really wants to talk about it. But I can't imagine that experiencing something like this would affect your entire lifestyle and how your outlook. I mean, how could it not?
Yeah. Well, it's one of those places for me that certainly the devil slid in the cracks. You know how he likes to do that in our wounds of I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, and I'm not a good wife, right? I don't know how to have this difficult conversation with my husband, that this makes me uncomfortable. This isn't, and so, it really impacts your self-confidence and your sense of being able to be a good mom and a good wife. I mean, dealing with these issues for sure with my two oldest boys, it really impacted the way that I was able to show up as a mom to them and how I was able to engage with them, difficulties holding them, picking them up, doing the normal mom stuff that you want to do with your babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, a friend of mine has been going through some pelvic floor issues, and she's just saying it's been frustrating. She can't leave the house alone with her other children. She needs help holding the toddler or the baby. And it's completely shifted her lifestyle as she's working through this. So, so maybe there's such a scale of the symptoms. But okay. So you said that it was, a 10 minutes a day, right? And that seems a lot less intrusive than very costly and possibly ineffective surgeries. Yes. And this, you said that you developed all this through that 2-year study.
Yes. Well, actually before that, because at that time,
I
previously had been referred for a full pelvic floor suspension. And after investigating that, I was like, you know what? I am going to do everything possible to avoid this surgery. And I felt like I had nothing to lose and everything to gain. And I was at a fitness conference, discovered the tool that we use, the Pelvic, and began using it and kind of experimenting on myself, and noticed tremendous differences in a 30-day window, continued to use it, began using it with clients. And that's what evolved into one of that quantitative data of, okay, what is better? Like, what is actually getting better?
Okay. So what is the Pelvic?
It is a little ball with some bands around it. And it was a tool created by another physical therapist that we purchased it from. And it's a very simple but effective tool. And there is magic in the pressing out and the squeezing to get that subconscious activation that we talked about, where you're not having to Kegel, you're not having to brace, you're really just going through a series of movements to reboot from a neural and a musculoskeletal perspective, that foundational system of the body, to get it to turn on, so that every time we go to step and lunge or pick something up, or, just not having to run to the restroom a million times a day, or wake up in the middle of the night. Because that's the other thing that many women think is normal, getting up in the middle of the night to pee. And I would say that is probably the number one result that women talk about first is, oh my gosh, it's been 3 nights and I've slept through the entire night. I haven't had to get up to pee.
That alone is probably worth it.
Yes.
better sleep. It's always worth it. And I'm guessing then the work that you're doing, maybe it doesn't feel, maybe it's difficult possibly at first just to get used to it again, but it must be intuitive if you're doing a functional movement rather than Kegels, or, might not feel that great.
We've had so many women say they like this so much better, because Kegels are really hard to know. Most women aren't doing them properly. Do I have the right thing on board? This is really trusting the way that God created us. As you go through these movement patterns, with that rebooting, the right muscles are naturally going to kick on. So, I always tell the ladies that we work with, good is good enough. This does not have to be perfect for you to feel better and feel the difference. It really is just about being consistent and doing it consistent. And so, what we have in the program are tools to help alleviate back and hip pain, pelvic pressure, toileting postures, talking about hydration and fiber and the importance of that when it comes to prolapse issues in particularly. And then the exercises. So it's not, because it is this dance of, you have to stop the pain points, the things that are bugging you as you're trying to reboot and build that strength.
Right. Get you back. And then also, our bodies are complex, so it has to be a multi-pronged approach.
Yes.
To fix this.
Yes.
So if you have somebody who's, say newly postpartum, looking to rehab before, trying to get back into an old routine, how long would they need to, or would you recommend doing this solely before switching to, or adding things in, I guess, because you would say to keep doing this program indefinitely?
Yes.
Okay.
Particularly for women who have prolapse, right? Okay. So that downward pressure, whether they've been diagnosed or not, that downward pressure, I know for myself personally, I need to do this 5 days a week, and I get to walk around and feel like I don't have prolapse. So that's my motivation right there. I have not had surgery. I was recommended for surgery 8 years ago at this point. So, that's the benefit for women who are dealing more with like the back and hip stuff, or just what we call pelvic floor dysfunction, which is, the pee leaks or the urgency. Those ladies do very well with when they're symptomatic. They get back on their routine, they do it for a little bit, and then they feel great. If they get symptomatic again, then they hop back on the train. So they have a little more leeway. When you have prolapse, I always tell our ladies, I would love for the magic fairy to come and like restack, the compartments that my organs go in, but unfortunately that isn't going to happen. So I have to continue to be proactive.
Yeah. I always, anytime something like this happens, or, or aches and pains with my own body, I just keep thinking, oh, the resurrection body. So
yes.
got that to look forward to.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk a little bit more about your website and where people can find you, the program online.
So folks can go over to tightenyourtinkler.com. The 5-minute quiz is right at the top of the website. They can take that there. The other place that we're hanging out, just like you, is Instagram. It's tighten.your.tinkler there. We have a YouTube channel with a lot of great information. I always like to direct women there because we do a lot of education there for specific issues. We've done a number of videos on like quick fixes for your pee problems, holistic remedies for your poop problems, all the things. And we also did want to offer listeners access to our Improving Intimacy Guide, which is really just journaling exercises to be able to help them talk to their spouse more about these issues. Hi there.
You know, it's funny. I have no idea how she got down here. There's a childproof knob on the I'm in our finished basement, and there's a childproof knob on the basement door. Hi, can you say hi, Maren?
Hi.
So the people listening in, my 2-year-old Maren somehow got here. I'm very impressed. That's her. You can say hi, Jen. Hi, Miss Jen.
Hi, Maren.
Maren, yep.
I love your name.
She's our only cradle Catholic so far.
There
so she's named after the Blessed Mother.
I love that.
Does anybody know you're here? No? That's funny. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
I don't remember.
Surprise. The intimacy guide.
Yeah, it's just a great reflection, some journaling prompts to help you have the conversation with your spouse about these issues so that it doesn't create division in your marriage.
Yeah, I gotta say, being open. I mean, who knows? Everybody's relationship is so different with their spouses and how comfortable people are with talking. Hi, can you go do that over there? Yeah. Okay. She's doing a game on my phone for now.
Awesome.
Sure, over that way. That's good. Yeah, right there. That's very funny. So I let my older 3 play a Mario Party video game with the express because my husband had to run out. So I said, you have to watch your little sister. So this will be interesting when I go upstairs and ask what happened and how she got in the basement. I'm a little nervous. She's very smart, and it makes me very nervous how smart she is.
I feel like the more you have, they just keep getting slyer is what I say.
Yeah.
They figure things out quicker and easier, it feels like, even though you have more experience at that point.
It's still, yeah. I'm wondering if anybody's going to panic realizing that she's gone upstairs. But we'll find out. Yeah, but yeah, she has more role models.
Oh yeah.
Emulate, and and also she doesn't, she knows how not to get in trouble or make her siblings get in trouble for her. Oh my goodness. There. Yeah, she came down here. Yeah, that's fine. Where can you get that guide?
Can I send it to you?
Absolutely.
It's not available if you can post it wherever you.
Yeah. I'll put it in the show notes. So for our listeners, I will have show notes that'll include where to find Jenn and Christina's work, Tighten Your Tinkler, online across the social media stuff too. And then we'll put that link there as well, or the download the file, however we manage when I put this up. I've been trying. I took an unintended hiatus from podcasting as we were gearing up for this event down in your area in Louisiana. Yes. And I'm still clicking along trying to get myself back into the routine and the show note stuff and everything. So I will have that because I will refigure out how to do all that. Nothing could have changed in the past 2 months. No. For listeners, awesome. Well, thank you. This has been very helpful. I hope people, listeners will get some benefit out of this. I'm sure they will, because again, it's must be those things. I mean, I miscarried over the fall, and after just mentioning my miscarriage, I heard about so many women's, and it's this thing, like once you say it, then you hear the feedback from it. Like, well, it's this thing that, we don't usually want to talk about our personal health issues to friends and family, but to hear that these offerings are available and they can actually help without surgery or without taking a pill that you don't want to be on the rest of your life with side effects.
Right. Or without having to stick anything in your nether regions.
Oh boy, I mean, that does not sound
the
fun.
normal therapy for this is to be penetrated with devices to help with this, or devices that women purchase and do this at home.
It sounds miserable. It doesn't sound like anybody wants to do this stuff.
You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
It's like the biggest message that I want to put out there. Like, there is hope without having to do that, without having to disrobe.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah. And like you said, it's probably mortifying, right? You don't want to have to do this stuff, but even in the privacy of your own home.
yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. So I'll put everything on in the show notes. They can find you online. Jenn, thank you so much for taking the
Thank
time to talk to
you,
us.
Christine.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Again, it'll be in the show notes, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss these episodes when they do come out, because we will be back up and running shortly now that the Caritas conference is done for this year. Anyway. All right, everyone. Until next time.